Okay, so let's talk about diversity this morning, okay?
Okay.
Soon my, okay, yeah. Now, did you know that there are estimated between 43,000 and 60,000 species of trees on this earth?
Wow.
That's a lot of trees, and some of them are really interesting looking too.
Yeah.
And 18,000 species of birds.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, some of you are really going to like this. There are at least 40,000 species of spiders. And about 400,000 species of flowering plants.
Wow.
We love those flowers, and pretty soon they're going to be just popping up even more than they are now. Right. There are over 200 species of squirrels, and this, and there's a picture of the squirrel up there behind that. It's a really colorful squirrel.
Oh, here you go.
Okay.
Try again.
You're shy.
All right.
Wow.
There's our squirrel. Okay. Including this colorful one. And Mary sent this picture to me that she found online, and apparently this is a real squirrel. But this morning, after the slideshow was all done and everything like that, I said, did that show up on April Fool's Day? And she assured me it didn't. So
It's 3 foot long.
yeah, and it's 3 feet long.
Oh my gosh.
So be glad you don't have one of those squirrels at your birthday. And one of the most fundamental questions in astronomy is just how many galaxies are there in our universe anyway? Now, in the 1990s, there was the Hubble Ultra Deep Field, or the Hubble Deep Field, and they got the first insight into that. And then subsequent sensitive readings came up with the fact that there are, in the observable universe, about 200 billion galaxies.
Oh,
Wow.
But wait, since then, new research has shown that this estimate is at least 10 times too low.
Wow.
We are talking lots and lots of galaxies, and all different, all beautiful, all amazing. And people. Wait a minute. And people. I don't know what's happening today. But I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you love me. You know, all one species, and yet there is so much variety. We walk on different places on the earth. We teach our children different stories. We eat different foods and smell different. We have different ideas about what's really important, about what we need, and about what we don't need. The variety, the diversity within humanity is absolutely amazing. We live in such a diverse universe. We live in such a diverse world. Well, now, why do you think that is? Why do you think it is that there is so much diversity? How about because the universe was designed to be diverse, divined and designed to be diverse. I mean, the way that God works is that Spirit absolutely wants to express. And diversity is a divine idea. Diversity is a divine idea.
I love that.
Good. Think about our incredible world. All of the plants and animals and birds and bees and all of the things that buzz around and that grow and that make our lives wonderful. And think about our amazing spiritual community. I mean, look around. Are there any two of us exactly alike?
No.
Any two that have exactly the same kind of eyebrows? Or exactly the same kind of hands? Exactly the same smile? Some are pretty close, the smiles, but there are no two that are exactly the same. Ernest Holmes said, "When we know that there is but one spirit in the entire universe, we shall know that there is but one source for all forms. We shall know that every form is some manifestation of this source." Okay, this is too long. Ernest Holmes also said, "Behind all is a unity." Nope. Behind all is a unity. Through all is a diversity. And saturating all is divinity. This divinity runs in us, through us, as us. It is what decided to express here in these physical lives on this amazing planet. And God just keeps showing up in new ways. It keeps expressing new ideas and new forms and new ways of being. I mean, you're new. Some of us are not really new, but
Yeah, some are newer than others.
Some are classics.
And so every time a baby is born, Spirit shows up as a brand new, never before seen expression. Today, more than 350,000 new and original expressions of the divine will open their eyes on this amazing world, will take their first breath of this air, this atmosphere that is around our precious earth. All new, never before seen, never before experienced. Now, that's a lot of diversity. That is a lot of diversity. And Ernest Holmes said, "The thought of God must be the cause of all that really exists. And as there are many existing things, there must be many thoughts in the mind of the infinite. This is logical to suppose, for an infinite mind would necessarily conceive an infinite variety of ideas. Hence the world of multiplicity or many things. But the world of multiplicity does not contradict the world of unity, for the many live in the one." It's all God, that's the foundation of it all, and yet it expresses in just so many different ways. The many live in the one. Now, one of the main teachings in the Science of Mind and Spirit is oneness. That idea that there is one life, one essence, running through everyone and everything that ever is now, ever has been, or ever will be. All are created first as an idea in the mind of God. And then Spirit pours its essence into each thing, each rock, each person, each rainbow, each star, each moonbeam. All of that is Spirit expressing. But oneness is not sameness. Absolutely, oneness is not sameness. Now, some people in our movement in the Science of Mind kind of confuse oneness and sameness, and they think, well, we don't need to talk about diversity. We don't need to talk about how there are different kinds of people from different places with different cultures. Well, we're all the same. We're all just God. Well, we are just God, and we show up in so many different ways. We recognize that there is a diversity because that's the way God wanted to express, always in new ways. I mean, all of those galaxies we were talking about, and it's still, the universe is still expanding. We need to just keep counting, because Spirit always wants to express in new ways, experience new things. That's why we have curiosity. That's why we're absolutely interested in reaching for new things, reaching for new visions. There's oneness, but it is not sameness. So, since there's oneness and not sameness, why is it, do you think, that when we run into people who are different from us, we get scared, we back off, we're hesitant to step in and engage? I really think that it's because, first of all, nobody, wants to be not open to diversity, at least when we talk about it. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, right. Everything, including humans, is so diverse that for us to really not want to accept that and enjoy the beauty of God in all its forms is just amazing. Tracy Brown, the author of Stained Glass Spirit,
There you go.
Becoming a Spiritual, oh, there she is, right. Becoming a Spiritual Community Where Oneness Does Not Require Sameness, said this. I love it. Ignoring the beauty and value and uniqueness of different types of people is equivalent to ignoring God and refusing to see all the ways God shows up as humanity. We don't do that with dogs or flowers or trees or clouds or spices or nature or art, so why would we do it with humans? Why would we fail to see the amazing, amazing expressions of the divine for who they are and for how different we can be? Now, for most of us, failing to value diversity is not intentional. I mean, we don't mean to do that. Now, some people just don't travel. I mean, there are people who never leave their hometown. There are people who never go outside of their own circle of friends, who never even give themselves a chance to encounter anyone that's even a little bit different. As humans, we get so comfortable with familiarity. We often want to interact with people that are just like us, or pretty much like us. Not exactly the same, but pretty much, keep it all in the same yard, in the same vents, so that we don't get pushed outside of our comfort zone too much. Even in our families, have you noticed that we tend to focus on what we have in common more than how we're different? I mean, family gatherings happen, people get together, and everybody just kind of acts like they used to. We often don't really get a chance to see the individuality, the variety, the specialness, even in our own families. And then we often don't give ourselves the chance to get to know people who are different from us. And sometimes we assume that everybody is like us. Oh, I feel this way, so you must feel this way too. And that is absolutely not the case. I remember back in the last century, when many gays and lesbians were still in the closet, a lot of us. And then more and more of us came out. And our families and friends, some of them who thought they didn't know anyone who was lesbian or gay, found out that they did, They assumed that we were like them, and we weren't. And so as a result of that, they found out that, we're just people, in some ways not so very different. I mean, certainly amazingly intelligent and beautiful.
Of
and
course.
lovable, but not so very different from everyone else, right? When we get to know people who are different from us, we get a chance to appreciate their gifts. We get a chance to absolutely find out about their cultures, their foods, their humor, what makes them happy, how we are the same and how we are different, and what a gift that is. We get to broaden our minds, and we get to expand the number of people that inspire us. We get to expand the number of people that teach us, and we get to look at some of the assumptions that we have made. We get to broaden our minds. We get to question whether our way of doing things is the only way, or even the right way, or the best way, because there are so many ways to do life. Some people do it so differently, and it works. There's not just one way. And as we interact with people who are different from us, then we really get a chance to see that there are other options, even if we think my way is best, and some of us tend to think that. Now, if you want to think about and get in touch with how what your reactions are, how you feel about being around people who are different, watch yourself when you're with strangers. You can find a great people watching place. Go to where there are people that you don't know and just kind of look at them. Imagine having a conversation with them. Imagine what it would be like, what your response might be if they walked up to have a conversation with you. So what stories do we make up? We see somebody, we say, oh, she's from blah, 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 and let's see, then we can make stories about what their education might be. We can make up stories about what might be important to them. We can make up stories about their religion. We can make up lots and lots and lots of stories that are not necessarily true. But when we see our reactions, when we actually put ourselves in a position where we can observe what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what our first thoughts are, that can teach us what we really believe. I mean, we may say, oh, I am open to everybody. But then if I notice that I'm getting scared and want to back off, that's information for me. That's information that I can use to say, got some work to do here. Because what I would want to do all of the time is to absolutely recognize the godness. Recognize that there is that oneness that expresses in so many ways, and I can let myself get curious. As we're looking at strangers, we can notice how we think about and treat various people, staff in restaurants. Do we treat the person who seats us any differently than we treat the person who comes to pick up our dishes? Do we think about them any differently? Even if we treat them the same, what are our ideas? What are our thoughts when we interact with them? What goes through your mind? What is it that you think about the mechanics who change the oil in your car? Do you look at them the same way you look at somebody who's telling you the news on TV? What about the guys that, in most cases, guys, that keep your lawns nice and tidy? Have you made up any stories about them? What do you think their lives are like? How is it that we can open up and remember the oneness, the wonder, the awe, all of the differences? So as an experiment, pick a place to watch people and observe your internal dialogue. Observe what's going on. because that's the way we get a chance to notice how we're reacting, what we're thinking, what we're really believing about our openness to diversity. If we are not appreciating and being delighted by diversity, we are missing out. There's way more out there that we could be experiencing and enjoying. And this is important. If we're not appreciating the diversity of other people, if we're not appreciating how other individuals show up, then chances are we may not be appreciating our true diversity. We may not be appreciating the amazing ways that we show up that nobody else can, the gifts that we have, the talents that we can share. I mean, I have known a lot of people who were just trying to fit in, just trying to be like everyone else, or enough like everyone else that they can feel like they're okay. Because since we're all different, we feel that and we know that. I mean, there was one friend who finally opened to an amazing love relationship after she realized and remembered and came to honor and love herself and realized that even though she was what some people called different, she was fun, and she was loving, and she was lovable. And so when she finally allowed herself to see that in herself, to see those differences that can be so beautiful and so delightful, then she was finally able to move into a relationship that made her heart sing. Another friend opened to greater health when she realized that she was never going to look like the
Barbie?
hungry,
Barbie?
Well, yeah, like Barbie, like the starved and photoshopped models in the magazines. When she finally came to realize that, she started to love her naturally curvy shape. And she changed her life because she was then able to open up instead of thinking, oh, I'm not thin enough. Oh, I don't look good enough. She was able to open up and allow love and other success into her life. And then one friend opened to success when he finally got it, that his weird way of looking at things. Anybody out here know someone with a weird way of perceiving things? When he finally realized that his weird, okay, we have one or two, yeah. When he finally realized that his weird way of looking at things meant that he could solve problems, that he could find solutions that nobody else could find. And that was an important gift. And let me tell you, he brightened up. When he finally came into his weirdness and began to appreciate it, then he was able to absolutely bloom and grow. Opening to differences in ourselves and others can be life-changing. Life-changing. Have you ever met someone, had an opportunity to get to know someone who was different from you and found out what an amazing, amazing experience it was? I mean, Karen, you're the first blind person that I've ever known well. And what a joy. You know, I may have at some time in the past made some assumptions about you. And some of them would have been right. But when we open ourselves up to relationships, to actually being with people who are not exactly the same as us, there is such incredible gifts. Yes, incredible joy. I love this quote from practitioner Kelly Robbins' article in this month's Science of Mind magazine. So if you don't have this magazine, we have extra copies on the table or in the lobby. and we'll be getting extra copies this month. So if you don't have one, feel free to pick one up on us. We should have plenty. Kelly said, the truth is we are all one, and we are each different. And you and I and everyone else are integral parts of that oneness. Each of us, in our own unique and perhaps quirky way, is needed. We are each a valuable contribution to the whole of the universe. It would not be the same without you. It would not be the same without any of us. There would be holes in the universe. So, you ready for some homework?
Yes.
Of course, of course. This week there are two parts to your homework. I've already talked about one of them, should you decide to accept it. The first is to pick a place to people watch.
Well, that's easy to say.
Either that or a peck of pickle peppers. Pick a place to people watch and observe your internal dialogue. Observe what's going on with you, and watch what stories you make up. You might be guessing, how educated somebody is, whether or not they're trustworthy, and whether or not they're somebody that you would have anything in common with. Yeah. Now, of course, this is not about beating yourself up about it. That's not what it is at all. It's about just opening up and absolutely allowing newness in. Because that's how we grow. That's how we learn. That's how we get drawn into new passions, by opening up to the wonder that is around us. And the second part of your assignment is to experiment with delighting in the diversity of the divine. Y'all got those little cards, right, with the affirmation on it? Well, we kind of skipped through it earlier, but we're going to do that in a minute. So we want to, as homework, look for diversity, recognize that each one of us is part of the divine creation. Each one of us is here on purpose and with purpose. And to absolutely allow yourself to explore and enjoy and move into that place of connection so that you can really appreciate it. So are you willing to do that, to
Yes.
practice delighting in the diversity of the
Yes.
divine? Good. Let's say our affirmation.
I delight in the diversity of the divine. Yeah.
Right. He's going to back us up. Great. Thanks. I don't know why that happens. Okay. I delight in the diversity of the divine. Once more.
I delight in the diversity of the divine.
Feel that. Feel your willingness to delight in the diversity of the divine. Feel it. Now, as my talk comes to an end, I invite you to close your eyes and open your heart. To take in what I say and make it your own. When I say my, you feel my. When I say I, you feel I. Life is always creating new versions of itself in an infinite variety of forms, styles, and expressions. Each one of life's expressions is whole, complete, and perfect in and of itself, lacking nothing, eternally connected to the divine. This includes me. At a soul level, I am whole, complete, and perfect. Nothing is missing. I am eternally connected to the divine. There's nothing I could do to be separate from this thing that I call spirit or God or intelligence or mother or father. nothing that I could do to be separate from that amazing, amazing energy. I see many different thoughts, differences of thoughts, differences of ideas, differences of expressions in the world and in my daily life. And yet I know that we are all one. We each express and experience in our own unique way. I express in my own unique way, adding my flavor, my song, my energy to the richness of the universal presence. I am willing to honor each person, including myself, as a unique, unrepeatable expression of the one. I delight in the diversity of the divine. I delight in the diversity of the divine. So let's just move into prayer as practitioners stand with me in high consciousness. I'm so grateful for each one here, for the light that each one shines, that light that is a little bit different in each of us, but that we have come here to shine in our own way. I am grateful, grateful, grateful that there is within each of us and within all of us that variety, that diversity, that variability that allows us to look at others and appreciate who they are, to look at ourselves and appreciate who we are. And so what I absolutely claim for us as we go forth this week is that we each receive opportunities to become aware of our thoughts, our feelings, our precognitive knowings that have guided our life, our beliefs, so that we are open to greater acceptance of diversity, so that we are open to taking in more, to understanding that there is such wonder out there to be explored. And so that the absolute perfect opportunities come to us with ease and grace, with gentleness and laughter and fun. And so knowing that we are open to experience the delight of the diversity of the divine, I just absolutely give thanks. I let this go. I let it be, knowing that it is happening for each one of us in our own unique and personal ways, just what we need. And so it is.
So it is.